0715 UTC. Dragging a dead kren'tavun is no mean feat. We had to consider its not negligible weight, the distance we had to drag it. Steph's hand, we probably would have gotten a lot of funny looks if we hadn't made sure to keep enemies out of our hair too. We'd already cleared out the floor for the most part, and we destroyed the elevator banks once we got down to the first floor with a liberal application of spare weapons. We were, for better or for worse, trapped on the first floor. We made it back to the engineering door largely without incident. The strain was definitely taking its toll, though. The bandages from the medkit weren't a miracle to restore me back to full health. Video games, why do you lie to me? Between my leg and Steph's hand, we were definitely not firing on all cylinders. I slapped the guard's foreclaw against the hand scanner. To my relief, it pulsed blue. I readied my gun as the door slid open. We expected a few engineers, maybe armed, and definitely ready for us. What we weren't expecting was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nobody, at least. A short hallway just like the rest of them in a large chamber with a milky white glow coming out of it. Carefully we approached. I hope you don't mind the redundancy when I say that everything in that room, everything, was of startlingly alien design. The most common piece of machinery was a large pole with great wide glowing rings around it like a child's plastic ring stacking toy. They were everywhere, two large ones at the bottom of the chamber just below us along the forward axis of the ship, but more along the walls. Add in conduits going between them, in various control boxes accessible from catwalks, and you've got a room like nothing I've ever seen, in either real life or on the silver screen. There was no moving machinery that I could discern, and no tanks for reaction mass. As near as I could figure, this room created some sort of technobabble space magic that pulled the ship along its course, since it was at the front of the ship. And it was likely fully automated too, with no moving parts to maintain, or valves to spin, or switches to flip. Engineering probably wasn't a full-time job like Star Trek had led us to believe. Like the engine of a car, it just worked, with no need for someone under the hood of your car making constant adjustments. I mean, sure, they probably had people that could repair it if needed, but well, the lack of presence here made our job a lot easier. Whatever job that was. Steph looked about as clueless as I, and marginally less inclined to just marvel over the sight of it. Alien engineering! That I was entirely clueless about! Must hypothesize! Now what? She asked. I looked at the glowing structures and shrugged. Ready for the biggest anticlimax ever? I leveled my gun at one of the two big mechanisms at the bottom, and fired. The shot didn't destroy it, didn't even dent it. It just bounced off, ping, zing, zoom, like Han Solo trying to blast his way out of the trash compactor. I ducked. Steph flinched a bit, but stayed standing as the energy was finally absorbed by the reactors. I'm waiting, she finally said. Well, that was my idea. Your turn. Can we just shake it? Shake it. Worked with the iPad. I shook my head and started wandering the catwalks. I approached the nearest control box and crouched down next to it. There was a simple clasp in the bottom that let the lid flip up to reveal a glass screen similar in size and shape to the tablet I'd been carrying around. I looked at Steph. Seeing she was looking at me, I cast mock furtive glances to either side, then attempted to shake the control box. She smirked at my fruitless antics. I looked at the icons in front of me. None were recognizable as being from my tablet, so I had to figure them out anew, not that a notepad app or a map would be useful in trying to destroy the reactors. There were a few icons in the upper left corner, while the right side of the display had what I assumed were power readouts of some sort. There was a keyboard along the bottom that matched the one on the tablet in notepad mode. Okay, so buttons first, because command line interface in a new language wasn't something that I, in my single year in computer science, felt like tackling. I picked one out at random. It showed a bunch more text, but no control. I tried to shake the control box back and forth to return it to the main screen, but it was firmly rooted to a post. Curiously, I looked around the box itself and saw a slider on each side of the box. I grabbed one and pulled down. The display returned to the home screen. I suppose it was a sort of skeuomorph to simulate shaking the screen. I tried out another button, and the resulting screen had a bunch of vertical sliders. Here we go, I said, and Steph came over to look over my shoulder. The sliders weren't actually fully vertical. They were wider space at the top, where the screen was wider, and came closer together at the bottom. There were text labels on each of the 4 settings at the top, and what I assume were numerical values at the bottom. Small hexagons represented the current values of whatever the sliders represented. I selected the 4th slider and went to grab the hexagon. When I touched it, the entire screen dimmed and text appeared over it. "Are you sure you want to change this setting?" Steph asked over my shoulder. There were two symbols below it, one that looked like the number 14, and one that looked like a hybrid of a capital J and F. I selected 14 and was returned to the slider screen. Hesitantly, I went to the hexagon slider again, and was presented with the same prompts. Okay, so 14 means no, so choose your mom's choose GIF? Cue exasperated sigh. To blow up big spaceships, maybe they have a peanut allergy! I was rewarded with another smack upside the head from a good hand as I hit the JF symbol, and we returned to the slider screen with slightly more saturated colors. I grabbed the hexagon and slid it all the way to the top. The indicator at the bottom moved from 3 characters to 1. Experimentally, I slid it down to the bottom and was presented with 3 character spaces again. I tried the same with the rest of the sliders and brought them all down to the bottom to what I hoped was their maximum value. The blue hue of the screen turned green. I grabbed the slide on the side of the screen and pulled, bringing it back to the home screen. I double-checked that the settings held true and looked at the main screen. Now in the diagnostics corner, there were 4 digits that were recognizably scrolling in a countdown. Well, that's a good sign. Sure it is. How much time do we have left? I looked at the map on my tablet quickly to gauge the floor numbers and checked which way the numbers on the screen were going. 2,300 and some odd units that are smaller than a second, and in base 6. Oh, okay, how much time is that? Hopefully enough, let's go.